Hi, everybody. My name is Joe. My partner is George. We're going to talk a little sports today, give you a little insight and our views and expectations and some of the things we observed in the last couple weeks and what we expect to see in the next couple weeks in the world of sports. These are just our opinions. I don't know how valid they are, but we know what we're talking about a little bit. George, how you doing?
Doing all right, Joe. How are you today?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. Pros. I thought it was interesting. The Pats picked up James Harrison. What do you think about that? It's pretty interesting, huh?
I was shocked that maybe fill me in. Why are the Steelers releasing a veteran linebacker at this stage in the game when they kind of know the Patriots are going to pick him up, right?
I think one thing is they had to free up a roster spot for some guy coming off the DL.
Okay.
DL or was
IR
injured.
or whatever,
IR,
yeah.
I don't know who it was, but Harrison hadn't played much. I think he played I read something like 39 plays, had 1 sack all year. So he hasn't been, I don't know if he was injured or not productive, but he wasn't a factor at all. Now, he used to be a tremendous potential Hall of Famer.
So the Patriots bring him in as a defensive weapon, or they bring him in as a source of information?
It could be both. You know Belichick, he's just brilliant that way. I think what he did is he gets a sack here and there. It might be worth his weight in gold, you know? I mean, he makes a big play. He's been in big games before.
If there's one thing that the Patriots need, it's obviously on the defense, because I don't think that they've ever come close in previous years to giving up the points that they've given up this year and the yards that they've given up.
The way their defense is run, they have to be in the right spot all the time, or they're gonna have issues. That's happened at the beginning of the year. They let up a lot of points in the first couple of games, but they got that straightened out.
Yeah.
And they've got back on course. Now, obviously, I think what is remiss in a lot of these teams is that if you have a good offense, it'll help your defense tremendously, obviously, because you're not in the field as much.
I thought defense wins championships. So.
Yeah, that's what they say in the big clutch.
But yeah, with the offense that they have and the way they run it, they can protect the defense by keeping them off the field, I would think.
Right.
With the little, the dink passes and things like that, yeah.
Watching the Eagles is interesting to me. When Carson Wentz went down, who was a potential MVP candidate, they're a different team. Foles isn't bad as a backup, but he's still Carson Wentz.
But he's a backup, yeah.
Yeah, and then, and
that game was kind of ugly. Was it Christmas Day evening, right? That was the Monday night game against the Raiders.
Right, plus the Giants let them up for 29 points. Yeah. And the Giants haven't scored over 30 points in like 3 years, seems like. So, I mean, so I don't know if that had anything to do with their pass defense or their lack of intensity, or they knew they were playing the Giants. Who knows?
Kind of a
letdown game.
Yeah.
Knew they were going to win eventually.
Would you say that's a rivalry? You're a Giants guy. Would you say Jets-Eagles is a rivalry game?
Giants-Eagles,
rather?
It used to be, Used to be. I mean, I think rivalry games just changed so much. I think your big rivalry games always like the Ravens and Steelers. Okay. That's like a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Cincinnati and any of those two teams. And in that division, for some reason, it tends to be physical, borderline dirty or lethal the way they hit each other. Those games are brutal. I don't know there's any teams that really hate each other or dislike each other than those individual teams.
I think if you talk to a Patriot fan, they might say that they kind of view the Giants as a rival because the Giants have got their number a couple times.
Possibly. I think the Eagles are the Patriots are so focused, so professional. They don't let that get to them as far as the emotion, as far as a rivalry. They just look at every opponent. They look at everything they do is calculated. So they want to get the end goal is to get to the Super Bowl, however they may have to do it. Yeah. Now they're playing the Jets this weekend. I mean, I think it's for home field advantage, right?
I think they have everything locked up. They
can't lose though.
They're playing the Jets, Joe.
I know, but if they lose, though, they will lose
they'll lose the top seed, right? So the Patriots and the Steelers will both have a bye the first week of the playoffs,
right?
And in order to go through Foxborough,
right?
It'll have to be quite an upset if they can get past the Jets, I think. Jets are pretty sharp. That could be. Now,
there's also a lot of talk about Bowles and his job. I mean, some people say he did a good job. Some people say, well, they were supposed to not win a game this year, and they won 4 or 5. So, I mean, how do you measure that?
I mean, I agree. In the beginning of the year, it was okay. This is a tank season. We're going to get good draft picks, this and that. And then they won 3 games in a row.
Right.
And McCown, I don't think had won 3 games in a row since he was in high school. Now all of a sudden the expectations change, but then later in the year there was a couple cases where, if you're watching a game towards the end, Bowles just kind of
this clock management is some of the decisions.
He just kind of cashed it in, and I know, I mean, I mean, I understand you're down X number of points with 30 seconds to go or whatever else, but you still play the game out like a professional.
Right.
He punts the football away.
Right.
With
that one game.
With 30 seconds to go, and I mean, he's starting to get now in the New York media. I think a lot of. It's starting to pile on a little bit. He's too unemotional, and you know, I mean, you go from Rex Ryan, who was so far in the other direction, to Bowles. I got to give him credit though. He kept the locker room intact for the season. You know, across town with the Giants, I don't think they can say that. They kind of lost it.
They got rid of Marshall. That helps a little bit.
In the beginning of the in the middle of the season, I think that, you know, that. McAdoo there kind of lost the locker room. So he did keep them together, and like I say, McCown did a pretty good job, but I don't know what the future of the Jets is.
It just depends what your expectations are. I mean, you know, I heard some guy say last night, I was watching Sports Night, and he says, well, they played hard every time. Well, you're supposed to play hard, aren't you? You're supposed to play hard all the time.
Making a couple $1 million, you might want to put in some effort.
I mean, I don't know why that's such a positive. You know?
Unfortunately, though, we see sometimes that teams or players don't play hard.
True.
As sad as it is.
It's true.
Hey, if I was making a few $1 million playing for the Cleveland Browns right now, I don't know how hard I'd work.
Plus, you have that element of, are they hurt, injured, how healthy are they? You know, some guys are out there, they shouldn't be. Another about the Browns, interesting. Just drop ahead a little bit. Is Josh Rosen said he doesn't want to play for the Browns? Did you hear that?
Yeah,
interesting. So the way, if it stands right now, the Browns have #1 pick, Giants have #2 pick.
Right.
So Rosen said he's not going. He's not going to the Browns. Similar to what Eli Manning and
I was going to say Eli Manning with the Chargers.
Philip Rivers did it way back when.
Yeah. Actually worked out pretty good for both of them, I would say. Philip Rivers, unfortunately, I mean, and I was always kind of have a soft spot for the Chargers.
Right. He's a good player, Rivers.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a great career. He's got an enormous family, and he's going to, you know, retire.
30 kids? 40
kids? 30, 35. He's got fewer kids than Cromartie had kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know,
he's only had one wife, though.
He just. but Rivers just, you know, he was with, unfortunately, a bad organization, and now they're, you know.
I mean, you think about it in theory, who wants to play for the Browns? I mean, you know.
They say Cleveland's a nice city.
That's LeBron, right? Well, the thing is that with the Browns is that, what are they, 1 in 20-something the last 2 years? They won one game in 2 years. I mean, it's just like. Yeah. And they always have good draft picks, so, you know. Where's the dysfunction there? Is it general manager? Is it the ownership? Is it obviously their draft picks or not picking the right guys? Josh, what's his name? Josh Norman? Not Norman. Josh, the whiteout that has all the drug convictions there.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Was he like 4 or 5 times? He's been suspended, and they keep bringing him back and let him play and this and that. Yeah. I mean, you know, in New England, I mean, he'd be gone after the first. You know, I mean, they don't put up with that.
New England's always been able to do that. You know, even if they take that troubled player,
right?
And you know, they don't sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal, but they'll bring him in for a year or two, and somehow they keep him under control. They're you know, you don't hear the problems or anything like that, and then they get rid of him. You know, Randy Moss always kind of comes to mind. Not that he was, you know, getting arrested and things like that, but Randy Moss was. There was a lot of eye in that team, and you know, he came under the fold pretty well.
You know, the thing is that they you know, the continuity of a coach, having a tremendous coach like Belichick, who's probably the best coach that's ever coached in the NFL, and having maybe the greatest quarterback in the NFL together for what, 10, 12 years. I mean, it's huge. Nobody else can say that. You know what I mean? And you can see the results.
And being in New England, I do like to remind all the Patriot fans that they have to thank the Jets for Tom Brady, because if it weren't for Mo Lewis taking out Drew Bledsoe,
that's true. Got a big
who
chance.
knows? Who knows?
Big chance.
Right?
A big chance. How about Brady's trainer getting banned from the locker room? Did you see that?
That's kind of interesting. That has,
you know, I don't know what that was all about.
Now, the rumor, there's a lot of rumors, obviously, but when they before they traded Garoppolo, Garoppolo wanted to get Tom Brady's trainer, who's now banned from flights and locker rooms and everything else. Garoppolo wanted to be trained or mentored, whatever you want to call it, by the same guy, and they nixed that. It's also interesting that this trainer is the godfather to one of Brady's kids. Okay. That's kind of a strange relationship there. It I'm not, you know,
there's probably so much more to it that we don't know about.
And because it's the Patriots, we'll never know about it. But it does smell a little bit of Victor Conti and that whole Balco thing, out there. So, who knows? Because, Conti got into the same thing with the formulas and everything else. But this goes all the way to, what pajamas Tom Brady's wearing and all this other stuff.
It's just like, how about now the Giants? The Giants interviewed Louis Riddick this week for the GM job. To me, I don't know any more than anybody else, but he looks like a tremendous individual, great guy, articulate. He's been on ESPN and knows the stuff inside and out. They interviewed him, and he wanted to bring Josh McDaniel on board as his coach. They almost pulled that off in San Francisco. He interviewed out there, and he wanted to get McDaniel, but I don't think McDaniel was able to get away or didn't want to leave, whatever it may be. But anyway, he wanted his premise was, let me come in as a GM and let me convince McDaniel to come with us.
Bring my team.
To me, that would be like the best thing that could ever happen to the Giants at this point in time. I think Riddick's amazing. I think Josh McDaniel is going to be an amazing coach this time around. After he failed in Denver.
And you see a lot of that in I think I see it in baseball a lot too, where the general manager, once he comes in. You might have to undo some contracts or this or that, but you start, and so you start seeing these managers that maybe don't have great records or anything else, but man, they just keep resurfacing because they're in tight with the GM, and the GM gets a job or whatever else.
And what's great about a guy like Riddick is that he's got a nice situation at ESPN, and I'm sure he doesn't need to leave there. But he's not going to leave for just any situation, so it's got to be what he wants to do.
And a lot of people are leaving ESPN whether they want to or not nowadays, because they just laid off another 60 people or so.
Something else. Well, the but the NBA cost them what, $16 billion or some kind of exorbitant amount to telecast that, and consequently they can't afford to pay all the people. That was one thing I heard.
I mean, they certainly they spend a lot of money on contracts, and and then. The way people are watching TV's changed a lot. And so we think about, okay, well, if I cancel my cable subscription, the Food Channel is going to make 4 cents less a month because part of my package is that. But when you look at ESPN, I don't know, it's $6, $7 a household. And there's tens of thousands of households across the country that are streaming or all this other stuff that I don't fully understand. Maybe I should.
It is very complicated. For sure.
And so that's certainly where ESPN is struggling a little bit.
I think in football, especially, the coaching is very, I would say strange, but I mean that's a tough dynamic. Sometimes you have these guys that are great coaches, but maybe great offensive coordinator, but don't succeed as a head coach, or not so good, and they are good head coaches. I think your head coach has got to be more like a CEO who just has to kind of organize things, keep everything. But then again, in theory, is your offensive coordinator, your defense coordinator, are they looking to get your job? Are they looking to go elsewhere? Are they looking to better themselves in the future? So do you trust them? And you're going back and forth with them. And it's got to be a different.
And if you're a young kind of unproven coach, I'm sure all those thoughts are bouncing around in your head. If you're Bill Belichick, you're not worried about anybody getting your job.
Then the other thing too is, like, in theory, you're a tight end coach in the NFL, and you have what, 3-4 tight ends? What a beautiful job. You got 4 guys you work with all day long. And you're out of the limelight. Nobody bothers you. There's no pressure on you. You're not making the big decisions. You get paid decent amount, I'm sure. And then you have all the benefits of being a pro athlete, pro coach. And sometimes, why would you want all that pressure? Some guys want it with the ego, but I mean, man, it's not a bad way to.
And I mean, clearly there's been more head coaches that, people have moved up to head coach in the NFL that have failed and have succeeded. And it's strange to me if you look at it. It's very, very rare. I don't know if you can name anybody who went from a successful college coaching career to the NFL.
Very rare.
And I think that's just. On the college campus, if I'm, Joey Longhorn or whatever else, I'm the biggest guy on campus. Then you get to the NFL, and it's
going to be interesting to see what Chip Kelly does at UCLA. I mean, he was watching the game the other night, the bowl game last night, and he was watching that game, and those are going to be his kids. And I mean, he's evaluating everybody. But it's all in recruiting. You got to get the right players to fit your system, whatever that may be, and then go from there. I mean, when he was successful at Oregon, it was like a new thing with the hurry up offense and the run and gun and moving the ball real quick. Dan Mariota, he had some good players, and all of a sudden he hit everyone by storm. Then he went to the Eagles, and it was
worked 1 year at the Eagles, right? You'd say
first year,
somewhat successful, but it doesn't take long for the NFL to catch up. You know, so I think that style of offense, you know, if it's a novelty or if it was something that they would, instead of that being the overwhelming, you know, the offensive plan, if they would have sprinkled that in here or there, maybe they could have got a few more years.
The other big thing is as a pro football head coach, you've got to be able to handle the media. You know, if you don't handle media, they're going to bury you, and then you're going to get run out of town, whether you know your stuff or not. Sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you know how you handle them is so important. That's why Parcells was tremendous. He would just be like, "This is what it is," and I don't care what you think, but he also has a great sense of humor. Whereas Belichick just comes in and just, you know, doesn't.
Maybe we should do Belichick for the next show. We'll just come in with hoodies and we'll mumble.
That's it. Yeah,
we won't answer anything. We'll just mumble.
We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. That's all we'll say the whole time.
So we talked about it a little bit in the last show. One of the same parties are involved. Another catch, no catch in the Patriot-Buffalo game this past week.
Boy.
To me, it's getting tiring.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sick and tired of, that's a catch, and then it goes to commercial, and then it comes back, and then you wait, and then you watch 47 replays or whatever else. Yeah. And you know, I think it's time that they need to look at it again.
They really have to figure something out. I mean, you know, you got to give I think you got to give the guys a little bit of leeway, a little bobble here and there. What the heck's the difference? I mean, my God, you're micromanaging, you're going down and everything. I mean,
at what point do you draw the line? And I think they've gone so far that you know, it's getting. I think it's getting frustrating. Now, if you're a Patriot fan, this is the greatest rule ever because you know
always benefit. Yeah, well, 3 times it's happened to them to their advantage. The only thing that drives me nuts is this rule with you go into the end zone and you bobble the ball out of bounds the end zone, and the other team gets the ball on the 20-yard line.
Yeah,
that always I never understood the logic in that one. I mean, I could see if you bobbled out of the end zone and you get the ball on the 20. And lost it down. At least you're not getting, you know, you lost the ball, whatever reason, it goes out of the end zone. But why do you lose the ball to the other team? I don't. Yeah. I don't with the logic in there, but I mean, you know, I'm not a rules committee.
Well, like I said, I mean, and we've talked about it before. The biggest problem I have with the catch. Okay, you're a receiver or you're a running back or a runner.
Right.
Well, if you're a runner, then whatever. If you have control of it and you break the plane, hey, touchdown, wahoo. If you're a receiver, well, now it's different. And it's the only league of football from Pop Warner all the way up to college. That's always going to be a catch. Right. You know, that the Steelers catch. That's going to be a catch in every park, every college campus, whatever it's going to be, and I think that difference, I think, is it's awkward.
Well, even like the catch, I think one of the pros you have to have both feet in. College just one. So I mean, they could do that. Well, 1 foot in. How much difference would that make?
Yeah.
To some of these catches. I mean, you know, might save some injury. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
As far as the top draft picks coming out out of the colleges, they say Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Josh Allen are the top 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Now each of them have different skill set that could bring to a team. They say that Josh Rosen is the best pure passer. They say Darnold is the best maybe all-around quarterback, and then Josh Allen has the most potential because of his size, almost like a Carson Wentz type thing.
Yeah. You always got to be careful of potential. You know why? Because nobody knows what your potential is, and no one's ever achieved their potential. So potential is kind of scary when you're going to be a first-round draft pick, and you know, first round, you've got to pay the guy a minimum.
And then you got a guy like Josh Allen who's playing for Wyoming, and how much competition or what does that? If he played the SEC, if he played some other league, what would he do? You know, I mean, all those things it's such a crapshoot. That's why it's an unexact science.
It's a very unexact science. You know, how many highly touted draft pick quarterbacks have come into the league and just basically flamed out?
What do you think of some of these guys that sit out a bowl game because they're afraid to get hurt for the draft for their NFL status? What do you think about that?
It's understandably sad, is how I would put it. It's sad because it's the guy's last bowl game.
Yep.
You know, you think back to, hey, you know, in 15, 20 years or whatever else, guy maybe has a great career, maybe has a cup of coffee in the pros, but the college is always there. I mean, I still talk to kids I went to college with and teammates from college and everything else. That's always there. And you know, that's kind of like, it's like their prom, all right? And you got to skip it. But I also understand because, you know, you're one play away from blowing out an ACL, and instead of a first-round pick, you're a 6th-round pick, or maybe you're done.
I think one thing that struck me as I watched the a while ago was Boise State in Oregon, and Royce Freeman of Oregon, who's their top running back, he'll go to probably top 2 or 3 rounds in the draft. Set out the game. Now, and he was on the sidelines as a coach helping his teammates. Now, I had a problem with that. Just play the game. And I understand the economics and getting hurt and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't you want it? Like you said, don't you want to be out there with your you work hard for 3-4 years and you're with these guys,
or 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. and you just, you would think that you want to finish it out right. And to be on the sidelines as a coach, I don't know.
Yeah, it like I say, it's kind of
And Oregon got their butt kicked in that game, by the way.
So it wouldn't have mattered if you played anyway.
Well, yeah, who knows what the psyche is. Then there's another thing about these bowl games where the coach leaves and some other coach comes in and is coaching for the 3-4 weeks until the other guy takes over. Or here's another one, upcoming bowl game. You have Arizona State, and their head coach is coaching the game. He's been fired. That was Grantham, was it Larry Grantham? Graham Grantham, whatever his name is. And he's coaching that game before Herman Edwards takes over. So how do those guys react to that? You've got a guy that's going, he was fired, and he's your coach until Herman Edwards gets there soon. So how does that pan out to your performance on the field?
Yeah, and I think, that's, to me, that's almost the better case than, it's not a major, not an Alabama or the teams that are always there, but these smaller programs that, maybe they had a great, in a case where they've had a great run and they've gotten to a bowl game that the stature or the size of which they've never gotten to before, and the coach leaves because of that. I think Randy Edsel Fiesta Bowl. We'll get to that later. And now all of a sudden, okay, we got you there, but then the coach leaves.
Right.
Okay, hey, I understand. The greatest job in the world for some coach is also a stepping stone for a different coach.
Sure.
So he leaves, and now, okay, here's the offensive coordinator now got to take over.
Remember last year when Nick Saban told Lane Kiffin to hit the road right before the national championship game.
Yeah.
And Steve Sarkisian had to call the offense in. And it got beat by Clemson. I don't know how much does it factor in that? Who knows? But it's almost like Saban was like, enough, just get out.
To get rid of the distraction.
To get rid of it, right. And so that was very interesting, the way that panned out.
Kiffin had a good year at Florida Atlantic.
Yeah. Now, how long is he going to be there? But he just signed an extension for 5 or 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
So does that mean he has to stay? Will he stay? Is he still looking?
There's always a no. There's always a no. Yeah.
There's always a buyout.
If you get to a big enough school, they can buy out a contract. They can do something.
And as a potential recruit, are you going there like, I wonder if coach is going to be here next year? I'm going to be here next week. Is it going to be here 2 years? I'm a freshman. I got 2-3 years. Is he going to be with me the whole time?
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing, and who loses in the situation. I think is that. I've never coached a high school kid that got a football scholarship, but I've worked with a lot of golfers. That's what I do, and they go off to college, and somewhere in their 4-year golf career, college golf career, the coach leaves or there's a change, and the NCAA, in their kindness and benevolence, does allow a player to move in that situation, but it's an uncomfortable thing.
Right.
Now you might see it in a football program or basketball program. You're not going to see a college golfer say, "Oh, I'm sitting out because Joe was the guy who recruited me and he left."
Right.
But it changes the culture. It changes the atmosphere.
And then the athlete does know that there's always a chance the coach is going to leave. Obviously, that's a kind of a chance you take. As the player could also leave too, transfer or go somewhere else too if he doesn't like the way things are going.
But they make it a lot harder for the player.
Right.
And again, in the NCAA rules, if I decide you recruit me, I start there, and I get there, and I'm like, man, Joe, you were such a nice guy when I was in high school. Now I can't stand you. I want to leave.
True.
Well, I've got to now go to you, and you've got to let me go. Otherwise, I've got to sit out a year, and it's a whole complicated thing.
Right. Now what was it, Texas Tech a few years ago when they had Baker Mayfield. They had a couple other really, really good. They had, I forget the guy's name, but they had 2 or 3 tremendous quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield beat them all out, and he got hurt and came back, and he ended up transferring to Oklahoma.
To Oklahoma, right?
Walked in there.
Yeah.
He walked into Bob Stoops and says to him, "Coach, you know who I am, but I like to play for you." And Stoops says, "No, I know who you are." He says, "I know who you are," and he says, "You'll have every opportunity to play like everybody else," and that's all he wanted. And there he is as a Heisman winner.
Yeah.
Let's go into the Oklahoma Georgia game coming up. I'll talk about it a little bit. Interesting fact about that: they had Jacob Eason, who was the #1 quarterback for Georgia. He got hurt, and he's a physical specimen, like 6'5", 230.
Monster.
And then you have Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm comes in, and I was listening to one of the ESPN guys, and he was saying how he watched Georgia practice. And he said Easton was so impressive physically, but Jake Fromm can make all the throws, and he was just like a better quarterback. But the other guy was maybe a better athlete.
Kind of difference between a pitcher and a thrower in baseball.
Yeah, he said he had no doubt that the other guy, not Easton, but the other guy was going to beat him out eventually. Just because he was more of a quarterback and a thrower and a thinker. It was interesting.
Yeah.
That was David Pollack was saying that on ESPN because he was a Georgia alumni and he went to see their spring practice, watching them practice. He said that, man, he goes, watch these two guys. He goes, oh my God, Easton was a man, but the other guy was a tremendous quarterback.
Quarterback and a manager, and we were talking about the college coach who does or doesn't make it in the NFL, and pretty much as a rule, the college coach isn't going to make it. But you look at a lot of these star quarterbacks in college that have zero success in the pros, and who is it? It's usually that Mariota, the mobile guy that's doing all kind of stuff. That's not what
that fit your system.
Yeah, and that's not what the NFL is about. That doesn't work in the NFL. So you need that. You look at immobile quarterbacks like a Tom Brady.
I think Georgia's going to give Georgia and Oklahoma. I think that's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to go back and forth. I mean, you've got Oklahoma, one of the best offenses in the country. You got Georgia with the three-headed monster running backs. They got Sonny Michel, they got Nick Chubb, and they got this other kid, what's his name, Swift, I think it was, that broke the game open.
Yep.
He had like a 75-yard run, and this guy just flies. They got those three guys.
Yeah.
And the quarterback is good, even though he's a true freshman. And Georgia got some great linebackers. They got this Rokon, what else is his name? Williams, I think. He's a first-round draft choice at linebacker. Got great speed at the linebacker position.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma has got weapons all over the place. So I think that's going to be an amazing game back and forth. Then you got Alabama and Clemson.
Then Alabama and Clemson. So you got Alabama's
trilogy, game 3, number 3.
I mean, it's becoming like a fixed thing. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Georgia is the first SEC team other than Alabama to make it to a playoff game.
Okay. Well, the thing is with Alabama, I mean, I know they just barely got in, and other people thought maybe Ohio State would have gotten there instead of Alabama.
Yeah.
but I mean, I know myself, I don't think anyone wanted to play Alabama, especially with all their linebackers. Like we talked about last week, they had about 6 linebackers go down.
Right.
And I think the majority of them, which probably 4 would be majority, are going to be healthy this week or next week. And that should be a great boost to them. And they got all those running backs. They got Jalen Hurts, and they've been there before. So, and Clemson, is probably the best team in the nation. They got 3 NFL draft choices on their defensive line. The one kid from Clemson, number 42, what's his name? He is from Wilkins, Christopher Wilkins. He's from Sheffield Academy in Connecticut.
Sheffield, really?
Yep. And he wears number 42 for his grandfather, who was born in 1942.
Okay.
And he passed away, I think it was...
It's about the time you were born, isn't it, John?
April 5th, it feels like.
So, Clemson certainly got all the weapons, throughout most of the season.
They don't have Deshaun Watson, though.
They were the team.
Huge. Still got Kelly Bryant, which he had a great year, but I mean, he's no Deshaun Watson, and we'll see that might be the difference in the game.
Yeah, and then there are some people talking, you talk to different people, and they say, well, how can Clemson be in there with the loss that they had against Syracuse? It was at Syracuse.
Yep.
Their quarterback was down. I understand all that. I think those days are gone. I think the playoff system, at least the way it's worked out this year, is that one loss and you're out kind of thing.
You're a lot of bump now.
Is gone, and I think that's good for college football. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, how can you? To sustain an undefeated season is it's almost a loss is sometimes a good thing, in reality. You're going to have one of those days, even when Miami went up to Pittsburgh this year, and they play on a Friday afternoon. during semester break, and with about half the stands filled, and they got beat.
Yeah.
I mean, and the college kids too. I mean, they got exams, they got all stuff going on, and it happens.
And those big programs, when it comes to exams, all the football gets put away. I got to make sure you get your grades in. Another tidbit was Alabama's got a loss. Well, every team's got a loss. So Oklahoma lost to Ohio State, and at the time it was like, oh, geez, that's a bad loss. So Ohio State ended up having a pretty good year, and they just kept getting better, better and better rankings. Yep. But Auburn beat both Georgia and Alabama.
Right, and they got smoked by Georgia again.
Yeah.
So that was funny part about it was one of the guys from Stanford, I forget who it was, is playing the pros, and he said they asked him about what it's like to be in the pros. He goes, well, pros is actually a lot easier because I don't have to go to class. There's a guy from Stanford, so what if you, and he was funny, goes, yeah, I actually have to worry about homework.
What are you saying, Joe?
Yeah,
yeah, Stanford.
Interesting.
Yeah, certainly a different atmosphere at a school like a Stanford or a Duke or something like that as compared to some of the bigger schools. Not saying that they don't go to class, but certainly the course loads are different and the expectations.
You basically take 9 courses. I mean 9
hours.
During the season. A lot of those guys will take summer courses to catch up. So
Even my golfers do the same thing. It's pretty tough. The kind of the standard college load is you're taking 15 classes with travel and everything else. No matter what sport you're playing, it's hard.
Impossible.
It's hard. Impossible. And so they'll end up taking a summer class or something to get caught up.
Yeah.
Of course, they can always, you get your 5 years. Most of these scholarships, believe it or not, are actually, you can get 5 years of academics out of it. Yeah. So if you did redshirt or something like that, or
5 years
kind of stuff.
For. Yeah.
But certainly in the NFL, the NBA, and things like that, people are there. It's pretty rare to have somebody go.
How about this Lamar Ball trying to form a league that's post high school, wherever he gets paid? It's amazing.
We could change the name of the show. I mean, instead of All Star Sports with Joe and George, we could just say This Week in the Ball Family.
Oh yeah,
because it's something different all the time.
It's amazing.
Talk about Little League parent gone bad. I mean, it's just it's uncanny.
Well, the thing
but he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because he said so we know that's true.
And then his kids over Lithuania or something playing?
Yeah, he's going to go to Lithuania.
We'll see what happens there. Baseball. Omar
Minaya is
that's your
back.
boy.
That's my boy.
Back with the Mets. What's going on there?
Back with the Mets. So, quick kind of recap if you haven't been following the Mets. Shame on you.
I want to follow the Mets.
Hey, easy. So Wilpons got into some issues. There was a lot of rumors that Major League Baseball kind of put a management team in for the Mets. After the whole Bernie Madoff thing, the Mets owe a lot of money, or the Wilpon family owes a lot of money. So anyway, Sandy Alderson becomes the general manager of the Mets, and
to restore order.
To restore order, work with a pretty restricted budget, payroll for a while there, and they just announced just recently that Omar Minaya is going to be back, kind of working with Sandy Alderson, and as a guy who grew up watching the Mets, watched the Mets, and followed the Mets all the time, I think it's a great move. Manaya's been kind of really a key front office.
Get that Latin American connection too.
Yeah, he's Dominican. He actually played. He played in the minor leagues for a couple of years. But started out as a scout with the Rangers back in the early '90s. Scouted Sammy Sosa. That was one of his first, big ones.
Who has changed his color skin. We saw that on the on the computer. He is now not like used to be.
Yeah. So this will be Omar's actually third stint with the Mets.
Okay.
So in the mid '90s, he came on and worked under Steve Phillips. As a scout and an assistant general manager. You could say, he had a lot to do with the late '90s run that the Mets made. With they went to the Subway Series and all that.
Mm-hmm. Where was Minaya up this point?
After he
just got hired by the Mets. Where was he last year?
Kind of chilling, just kind of hanging out,
mowing the lawn, the household chores. Okay.
So in 2002, he leaves the Mets. He goes up to Montreal. And he was the first Hispanic general manager. He was the general manager and president of the Expos.
Okay.
And for you young kids at home, there was a team called the Montreal Expos. Great logo, by the way. Probably the best logo in baseball. Did a pretty good job up there, I think, in the sense that he wasn't allowed to do anything. There was no payroll, dump everything as it got towards the end, and got him to the playoffs one year. Had a pretty good record.
He's a good player.
Maybe a foreshadowing to the end of his second stint with the Mets. How's this for a trade? I'll give you Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, Brandon Phillips. You give me Bartolo Colon. That's what Manaea did. He traded Lee, Sizemore, and Phillips for Big Sexy, Bartolo Colon. Probably not the greatest trade ever. Oh. Probably not. But, again, he was under a lot of pressure to really basically dump payroll altogether. And then he went to the Mets, started back to the Mets in 2004. I've got to say he was solely responsible for the kind of the rebirth of the Mets. That are they still in that phase or not? I don't know.
The bottom line is they really haven't done anything this offseason to spend any money to improve themselves. I think, and now they're shopping Juan Lagares, they say.
Yeah.
Now, if your team is going to be built on great pitching, and that's your strength, then you got to have a center fielder that plays great defense, which Lagares does. He may be one of the best center fielders in the league. So why would you think of getting rid of him? And who's your center fielder? Nemo? I mean, who do they got? Yeah. Michael Conforto? Who knows how he's going to be as far as the season? Is he going to be ready? How healthy he's going to be?
Yeah. Certainly the health of the Mets has been.
Cespedes gets hurt, walking up the stairs. So I mean. And then who plays right field? I mean, who do they got? You're talking about Jay Bruce a little bit, but they haven't done anything. They've got Dominic Smith, the first baseman, who had health and weight issues that they hope to keep him, in shape.
Really, all the Mets have done so far is they signed Anthony Swarzak, who played for Callaway before, right. So they're kind of reunited. So
Jose Lobaton they hired, journeyman catcher from the Nationals. 35 years old. I don't know what they're going to do with him.
So it was kind of a big to-do not too long ago. Yeah. Mets fans were, I'm going to cancel my season tickets. I'm not going to go to games anymore because they said, look, we're dumping payroll. We only have this much to spend. But let's wait until they break spring training, because if you think about it, you got the Scott Boroses and the like out there in the world. And if a team says, hey, we're looking to spend millions of dollars. We're going to bring our payroll from X to Y. We want to spend all this money. Well, guess what? You're going to overpay for everybody. If you say, look, we need to cut. We want to cut $20 million off of our payroll. We got $10 million to spend. This, that, and the other thing. An agent doesn't have a lot of leeway. Now, because they said we're going to spend this doesn't mean that they're limited. They can spend as much as they want. So it'll be interesting to see how much of this is the game. And how much of it
the bottom line is that you've got to get players in certain spots, and you've got to be able to evaluate and potentially see what you have coming into the season. I don't know if they have any answers to any of those questions.
Yeah, it's early. It's early.
They got Drupal Cabrera that I guess they're going to keep him around to play second and third a little bit. And Neil Walker they haven't made a decision on. Jose Reyes, I guess he's coming back. I mean, I think there's all these question marks. Yeah. Rosario's obviously should be their shortstop. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the one of the things that I hope to see, that I think we'll see this year, is they'll finally say, okay, we're going to invest and go to a third baseman, because the captain David Wright is just not going to happen. And I think, unfortunately, I think the emotion has come into that a little bit, and they never really said, okay, we're going to replace David Wright, because there's always that hope. He's the face of the franchise. This, that, and
that's the problem.
It's just not going to happen.
They don't spend any money on anybody, though. They haven't. I mean, Cespedes was they finally signed him at that one point, but I mean. Obviously, today's game, like I thought they could get Eric Hosmer or Moustakis or one of those guys that are out there. And those two guys, I think those two guys are still available as far as I understand. Now, the Red Sox got to do something. They signed Mitch Mullen to a 2-year extension, which is their first baseman. He didn't even play that much. Yeah. And so obviously they're going to commit to him, and I guess have Hanley Ramirez as their DH and maybe share the position. Yeah. But they got to get J.D. Martinez we have 45 home runs last year. They need some power. The Red Sox don't have any power at all, and they got killed last year with that.
Yeah.
They get rid of like one of their outfielders. They got Mookie Betts, they got Bradley, and they've got Benintendi. I mean, do they get rid of one of those guys to get some power in the outfield? At some point, they might have to make. They can get rid of Jackie Bradley Jr. and put Betts in center, and be okay there.
Yeah.
You know, Pedroia, I think Dustin Pedroia is getting toward the end of his career. He's getting nicked up all the time. He's always hurt. You got a couple of young infielders that could play there. Bogarts didn't have a good year too. He kind of went downhill. Bogarts. He toward the end, he wasn't even playing sometimes toward the end of the playoff run. He wasn't even starting.
Yeah. So circling back, I just want to finish up with the Mets. A few years ago, the Mets kind of made a charge. We had Willie Randolph came in and managed them, and all of a sudden they were somewhat relevant, this and that. Didn't really go anywhere. It was like 2004-05. So Manaya's there, and I remember that winter every day going on the internet. They're going to do something. They're going to do something, and there was nothing. But before they broke spring training that year, they had added Billy Wagner, Carlos Delgado, Paul LaDuca, Duaner Sanchez, who kind of had an MVP career until a taxi cab accident in the middle of the night in Miami that night. And boom, and that all came in bunches. It didn't come during the winter meetings. So
how did that translate into wins, losses for the following year?
2006. They were a base hit away from going to the World Series in 2006. Good that year, So. I know the Yankees have gone out and they've made some really big signings, and I'm glad to see that they're getting some players out of the NL East, frankly. But does it have to happen in the beginning? Right in the very beginning, or do maybe a Manaya
the cat and mouse game they're playing too?
Manaya who's had a kind of a hot and cold career. There's times he looks like a genius, and then there's times where he signed. He got Johan Santana, he got Pedro Martinez, he got Delgado, he got Beltran, he got all these guys. He also got Jason Bay, who a couple years ago, the two highest paid outfielders on the Mets payroll were
Jason Bay and Bobby Bonilla.
Neither of which were in uniform.
Yeah. Bobby Bonilla, he's getting paid to like what?
And all you Red Sox fans that were you're gonna love Jason Bay. You're gonna love Jason Bay. Well, that didn't pan out. Yeah. But so that was towards Manaya's
Pedro Sandoval.
The end of it. The end of his second term.
Now the Yankees are shopping. I think about getting Garrett Cole. There's talks of that. Now Pittsburgh wants their top three prospects. They want Cliff Frazier. They want Andujar, the third baseman. Then they want Chance Adams for the Myers, and those are three tremendous prospects. I would not do that. I don't know why they would do that. Why don't you have Chance Adams and Justice Sheffield? Some of these guys are Myers. Let them give them a shot. The young guys, why would you go out and get a guy like Cole? Who's a good pitcher. I mean, I'm not denying that, but I mean. Why have a minor league if you don't give these guys a chance? Like Clint Frazier, they don't have much choice because they're going to lose him anyway because he's been with the same team for 3 years. He's got to be protected on a roster, and there's nowhere for him to play. Yeah, he's not going to get in the field. So if you trade him, that's not a big deal. But Andujar and Chance Adams have tremendous upside. Todd Frazier's still out there. I think they're kind of. They might get him for a year, maybe at $10 million. I think he made $13 million last year. Yeah. Get him for 10 at Sabathia. I think Frazier's a great guy for the clubhouse guy. Yeah. Great with the young kids. Got some pop. He'll look to a tremendous defensive player.
His name's coming up with the Mets too. That there's rumors that might be kind of the fallback.
That's interesting how that's going to play out. Where's he going to go? What's best fit for him? I think he likes the East Coast, likes the Mets or Yankees. Yeah. But if he goes to the Yankees, goes to the Mets, he's probably not going to win. Does he want to do that this time? But with the Yankees, he could be on the he could be the last man on the bench and go to the World Series and watch Stan and all those guys. So I mean that might be way better than those other things.
So the number one need for the Red Sox is power.
Power, absolutely.
Number one need for the Yankees.
They're looking for a big starter. A lot of people think Garrett Cole is better than Sonny Gray, which I mean, how do you know that? I mean, it's two different leagues. It's a guy's health, how they're gonna adjust to different leagues. I mean, why not go with what you got? I mean, you don't have a lights out, but you don't really need an ace with that lineup. My God. Yeah. With how much power and such a good lineup, top to bottom. You've got 7, 8 all-stars there. You don't need a Sandy Koufax to come in here and shut it out. Right. But you got CeCe, you've got Severino, you've got Tanaka, you've got guys, Jordan Montgomery, you've got guys Sonny Gray got 5 starters. Then they were talking about making Chad Green a starter, who was tremendous out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
They converted from the beginning, and they can't be fluctuating, going back and forth with that.
Yeah, you can't bounce
one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they did that to what's his name? Who's the guy that the Yankees? Chamberlain. Job of Chamberlain. Remember they went back and forth with him. They started reliever, they started reliever, and then now he's a security guard. He's a security guard somewhere.
Is he really?
No, I don't know.
He's probably on the same payroll as every former New York Jet quarterback. Number one need for the Mets. I'm going to start with trainers. Yeah. Something's got to give with the Mets.
Flexibility guy.
How they're conditioning their athletes or treating injuries or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Dan Worth and the pitching coach is gone.
Did they retain the same strength and conditioning guy? Is he still there?
As of right now, yeah.
He's still there.
Yeah. But the pitching coach, the trainer, something's got to give because every March it's we got six guys that would be an ace on any team in the league, and then by the end of by mid-June,
all these guys
we're calling up spot starters.
All these guys are getting so big and strong, and there's no flexibility, and they're getting hurt, and and it's just like
it's a different thing. It's Syndergaard, who I love watching Syndergaard pitch, put on 18 pounds of muscle going into the last season.
Right.
Does that cause him to get hurt?
Yep.
I don't know.
I mean, you guys, Syndergaard, Harvey, obviously DeGrom, those guys pitch like they can and used to pitch or have pitched. Mets will be right in the middle of everything. But I mean, if not, they got to get some bullpen help too. The Swords should help.
That's the one thing they did.
That's the other thing. I mean, they'll be able to finish these games.
Yeah, but if you have Harvey, Wheeler, Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matz.
Right. Matt's another guy, but I can't rely on him. He's getting hurt all the time too.
Yeah,
Matt's was getting hurt.
He's that small frame kind of guy.
Yeah, he was always elbow this and that. And just
they didn't bring back Rick Peterson. Remember Rick Peterson? He was the pitching coach.
Put the hand on his shoulder all the time. Talk to the guys.
Said I can fix Carlos Zambrano in 17 minutes. I was at a game. It was a Mets Pirates game. Zambrano's pitching, and they'd given up a big prospect to get him. Peterson says, I'll fix him in 17 minutes, no problem. He gave up 2 home runs in the first inning, 2 home runs in the second inning. It's the top of the third, and the game's about an hour and 40 minutes old.
God.
That's had him come back and win that game. I'll never forget.
He was crazy, that guy, Zambrano, whatever his name.
Oh, yeah.
That's that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching the NBA the other day.
So you're the guy.
LeBron getting hammered and going down the lane at the end of the Warrior game, and then no call. I mean, he goes up for a layup, and Durant hits him on the shoulder, and then hits him on the arm, and there's no call. He missed the layup. They ended up losing by 5, the Cavaliers. But he's just so big and strong that they must think that it's not a foul. How can you say there's official?
It's the Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger thing. I mean, you get close to Tom Brady, there's going to be laundry all over the field. Roethlisberger and Cam Newton and these guys are just getting shellacked.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
Yeah,
and I think you're right. I think the enormous size of it.
I always said in the NBA they should not have a foul out rule. You should get unlimited fouls. But if you foul somebody after 6 fouls, you get 2 shots and a ball to the other team.
Okay.
So that way
we could turn the NBA into like the hockey where you got goons.
Well, the thing is that
hey, pal, get out there, hit the guy.
you come to a game to watch a star player, and he gets hit with 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes. Yeah. Now the guy sits the whole time. Now you're saying, okay. Yeah. And the whole game changes. And when I was coaching at Immaculate, I would always start in a zone defense, even though man-to-man was our best, because I didn't want any of my players to get hit with 2 fouls.
You want to get 5-6 minutes into the game before
and
they
all
have
of a sudden
a chance
the whole game changed.
Yeah,
so I would get through the first quarter in good shape, foul trouble, and then go back to a normal defensive man-to-man. It worked for me. I mean, I didn't want to put myself in a position to be dictated by a bad call by an official, and there's a lot of bad calls out there. So, I mean, that was just my own personal
Maybe it's time to start reviewing every call in the NBA.
Well, that's the other thing.
Just do it like the NFL.
Amazing.
Everything gets reviewed.
It's amazing.
Everything gets reviewed.
Remember in the NBA when they had 2 officials? they survived. They had 2 guys.
They did get by. And it can still happen, right? If somebody, you get an official pulls a hammy or something, he's got to sit down. NBA's in a I think would you say a rising or a sinking role right now?
Well, I think just
the highlight of the NBA would be what?
I think it's a league of stars where you go to watch a certain player, and then except for the great teams like the Warriors, but you would not go to watch Cleveland play unless LeBron was playing, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, and even I just think it's hard in the NBA where like guys like Greg Popovich would sit guys, you know, stuff like that, and then you pick out one game a year for your family to go, and you go there, and then you know. Half the guys aren't playing for whatever reason. I mean, that's got to be awful.
Yeah, it's tough, and you know. Do you legislate against that? Do you think the league has a right to say? I don't know how you do it. So you've got to play 3 of your top 5 salaried players every game. I think you can rotate who doesn't play.
You can't have more than one superstar. Okay, although you could say he doesn't feel well, or when you have these back-to-back games, guys who get right down, that's where the coaches are pulling them back. So, so you can understand the end of it. But I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they ever will be. It's almost like the Thursday night football game. You know, and the Sunday, it's the same thing. Same thing. You know, is it because they're playing too quickly and the guys get injured? Where one team, there was a couple weeks ago, one team had like 6-7 injuries, the other team didn't have any injuries. So, you know, what's the answer? I don't think there is an answer.
Yeah,
I just don't think.
But like you're right. Like you say, it's tough if you know there's a guy, whoever he picks out one game to bring his son to because LeBron's coming to town, or the kid's favorite player, whoever it happens to be, is coming to town, and he gets there and the guy's in a 3-piece suit sitting on the bench because he's not playing.
It could happen. A guy could get hurt, and the same thing happens.
If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. You know, but you're making a conscious decision to say, okay, we're sitting our superstar.
Whereas Shaquille O'Neal, I heard the other night, said that his father told him, he says, every time you get step on that court, some kid might be seeing you play for the first time, and you got to give him 100% and give him the show because he might never have a chance to see you again in person. He said, that resonates with me all the time. He goes, every time I went on that court, because I gave it all I could give, and he goes, because there's kids there that will never see me play or have come to see me play, and it might be the first one and only time. He goes, I can't deny that to them, and that was that's how he thought. I mean, and
what a great thing to pass on to the guys that are playing now. And that reminds me a little bit of Arnold Palmer in the game of golf. You know, was the mentor or the grandfather to an entire multiple generations of golfers, and to this day, there's golfers that will always sign the autographs. There's golfers that will always sign an autograph that's legible, because that was another thing of Arnold Palmer's thing. Don't just scribble something down. Write something so the kid can read it. And they hang around and they're respectful and and you know, I think the NBA probably needs that kind of message from Shaquille O'Neal.
That's almost old school. Old school, I mean, it's just money and everything, and notoriety, and all that stuff changes so much. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. And these guys have lives too. I mean, you know, they can't even go to get a newspaper without being mobbed anywhere. I mean, that's they can't do anything. And every time pictures of you, you know, you can't talk to anybody. What are you doing? And I mean, my God. You know, I mean, that's got to be as glamorous as that is. It's got to be. And
in different markets, it's different. I can remember the Mets trying to scoop up Cliff Lee. And his wife was at a game or whatever else, was getting abused, people yelling this and that. Where'd he go? He went to Philly. And you know, if you're going to play in New York, no matter what team, if you're a Knick or you're a Jet or you're a Giant, Yankee, whatever it is, it's very different than any other place. I can remember leaving in the Brett Favre era of the New York Jets, those 14 games, leaving Gillette Stadium. Favre had taken the Jets down at the very end of the game with no timeouts. The Patriots gave up like a 4th and 13 conversion to Favre. Jets come down, kick a field goal as time expires. It was really a bad loss for the Patriots. So as I'm sitting in traffic, and if you've ever gone up to Foxborough to get a game, you know, it's forever to get out of there. And the radio station from Boston is in the parking lot, and they're talking, so I'm listening to it. They are nothing but apologizing for the Patriots. And I said to my wife, if this was reversed, and the Jets lost the game, or a New York team lost the game in New York in that fashion, there would be no apologizing. They'd be calling for people's heads. This guy needs to get fired.
Wrap it up. You got about a minute. Who wins the national championship and why? That's Monday night coming up. Even though we're
I got to go with Alabama, based on the history and Nick Saban.
Who wins Georgia, Oklahoma?
It's going to be. Oklahoma versus Alabama.
Okay, and Alabama beats Oklahoma. I think Georgia-Oklahoma high-scoring game. I think Georgia beats them 48-45, and I think Alabama beats Clemson in like a last possession type thing. So Alabama against Georgia, and I agree with the Alabama wins.
All right.
That's my pick, yeah. George,
pleasure. Hey, thanks for a great show.
Good job, boss.
All right.
All right.